Okay, so here we're going to be looking at variables, which is the second lesson. So let's get started on this and continuing our JavaScript Codecademy. So a variable is a container or a place to store bits of information or data. Data is just raw facts or figures, whether it's text, numbers, true, false, on, off, whatever else. And a variable is just a way that we can access this, and we can give it a name. So we have a descriptive name. Generally, they cannot start with numbers. They've got to start with a letter. And general practice is leave it all lowercase, except if you're starting a second word, then you'll start the second word with a capital letter, using that snake case like I mentioned in the previous video. So we want to store or update information that's stored in a variable, and we can reference get information, pull information, whatever's saved in there. So remember, there's a cheat sheet for this. So all these just taking our time. So keyword to create a variable is use the keyword var. There's also two other ones, let, which basically does the same, essentially the same work as var, and const, which is for creating a constant, something that we don't want to change. So let's have a look at what we've got here. So var, create a variable. It is called my name. When we see a single equals like this, we call it assignment. Basically what it means is whatever's on the right, carry out these instructions and assign it or save it, store it in the location on the left. So if we write this out, so create a variable called my name, and I'm going to store the name Bob in the variable my name. I can change what's written in there, but just now, because I've written var my name once, I don't need to do that. You only have to declare or create the variable once. And I can actually go and run that. And if I do console.log to write it out, I'm going to print out my name. So you can see it's printed out Steve, because originally I had Bob, and then I changed what was stored in the variable to Steve, and then I told it to print it out. If I go and modify this so that on line 2, first it has Bob and then so on. So we've got those explanations about my names and so on. So I want to make a variable called favorite food. Favorite food, and it's going to have pizza in there. Okay, let's run that and see. Oh, pizza with a lowercase p, really, really picky. Okay, declare a variable called number of slices, so var. So number of slices, and we want to set that to 8. I'm going to actually add a comment. Number of pizza slices. So I've got some comments in, always good to have comments for your code. And now we're going to use the console.log to print out our favorite food and then the number of slices. So console.log. So I'm going to print out favorite food and number of slices. Let's run that and see what we get. Cool, so we've got pizza and 8 printed out there. Okay, so let essentially basically does the same thing. So let mail equals enchiladas, and we'll print out those bits of message, the content of those. Okay, if we can create a variable and not actually set anything to it, So it's undefined at this point. So when we try and print out what's stored in there, it prints out undefined. So let change me and set it to the value of true. Let's run that. Now I want to change it to be true or false. So change false, assign that to the variable change me. So I've done the first part, but I haven't actually logged the answer. Console.log and console.log change me. And I'm going to run that. And we've printed out that result. Okay, next one is the constant. So if we don't want to be able to change this. So Gilberto, and we log it out, it prints it. So once you create it, you can never change it. So you've got to assign them when you declare them. So you've got to have that complete line there set up initially. So let's make a constant called entree and set it to be enchiladas. Cool. And we're going to log that. Now different languages have different habits for constants. So sometimes you might see a constant being written entirely in capitals. But the way that the code is written here for the checking and marking, it wants it in the lowercase. Okay, so we want to try and reassign it. So I want to change it to tacos. And it's given us an error. So we've got a type error, so it tells us there's an error on line 3. And this assignment here, it's type error assignment to a constant variable. Basically it's this way of saying, hey, you can't do that. Now we can do some mathematical operations. So we've created a variable, w, and set it to 4. And we can overwrite what's stored in there. So remember we do what's on the right, carry out those instructions, and then save it and store it into that location. So what's currently in w is 4, so 4 plus 1 is 5. Save it into w, so w now becomes 5. There's a shorthand for that. Plus equal is the shorthand way of writing that previous line of code there. So that line and that line are exactly the same. There are also other ones, minus equals, star equals, divided by equals, which carry out these same jobs. And our first step is we're going to change the level up by 5. And power level, oh, helps if I actually spell that correctly. And we want power up, or power level, multiplied by 100. Actually, no, that was decreased by. Always pays attention to actually read these. These are what's called logic errors. Oh, decrease. Multiply me by 11. Note you don't always need to put the semicolons on the end of each line. And quarter me but I find it's a good habit to do so. Okay, increment, shorthand is plus plus. So this is the same, so a plus plus is the same as writing a is assigned to a plus 1. That works out exactly the same, and minus minus does the same, and it just works our way through those. So let's increment gained dollar plus plus. And lost dollar. So these two. Now string concatenation. So we can actually, like we had the string concatenation in that first exercise, we can actually just put a variable in. So we've got a variable called myPet, which contains armadillo, and we've got a string, and then add another string onto it. So let's see how this goes. So I'm going to create a variable called favorite animal. So I've got a favorite animal, and it's going to be a dog. And I'm going to print it out. And now I want to do some string concatenation. So, and we wanted to get it so that it replaces the word animal to be favorite animal. Cool. So it prints out my favorite animal, dog. Okay, string interpolation. So inside, insert into. So it's another way of writing, doing that similar to that concatenation. So we've got a variable called armadillo, or variable called myPet, which contains armadillo, and I own a pet, and it prints it out. So this time we actually just have one string, but note these are not the single quotes. They're normally the one that's on the tilde key, which is next to the 1 on the keyboard in the top row. Now we have to put dollar, curly bracket, then the name of the variable, and then a closed curly bracket to get the contents of it. So let's create a variable called my name. So we got my name, and we got make a variable called my city. So we have a variable for my city, and string temporal literal to interpolate variables into the sentence below. Use console.log to format it so that it is this. But where it's got name, we're going to put in the variable my name, and city, my city. So let's do that. Console.log. So the little quote that is next to 1 on the keyboard, and we're going to have, I'm just going to do this, my name is name, my favorite city is city. Let's run that. Now you can see it's printing out those, but we haven't got that information. Now I'm going to modify this, and I'm just going to put in just the variable name. Let's run that. Oh, let's put that, but it hasn't actually got the contents of it. That's why we need to put the dollar, open the curly bracket, close the curly bracket. So now it pulls that information from that variable. So now I've got that information, and that's been printed out. Okay. Last bit is we've got a type of operator. So it tells us what type of data is being stored in a variable. So if we look at this one here, it should be a string. So let's try this out. Console.log, and we're going to put the name of the variable. So keyword type of. Note the keywords have come up as blue. So type of variable, and we should get the answer string. Now let's change this to a number. and it's told it's a number. Okay. Let's see what happens. Oh. Okay, this one here was actually wanting a couple of changes here, so I'm actually just wanting to overwrite that variable. Let's try that. String a number, done. So this is looking at variables. So remember, variables are absolutely essential, one of the most useful pieces of information, ways of storing data that we can reuse over and over. Take care, and see you in the next video.